Hey, this is Francesca Battistelli, and you're listening to Dispatch Radio.
That's great. Well, I'm a huge fan of these guys, and man, I was reading some of the presser, and it said 16 years, made me feel old, man. But Big Daddy Weave, another great album coming out. We've talked about it a little bit. Beautiful Offerings, hit songs coming right out of it. My Story is already doing great. The tour's getting ready to crank into full steam. They have a show here in Florida. If you're listening to us live, I think it's up in Pensacola. Beautiful Offerings is just a great album, a great follow-up to just an award-winning album they had in Love Come to Life. So we get a chance to talk to Mike Weaver himself. How you doing, Mike?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on, dude.
It is awesome. What a great... I almost, I feel like writing a review was a little awkward because I felt like it was Love Come to Life Part 2. It seems like it's a continuation of where you are sound-wise, spiritually, vocally. Am I way off base? I mean, it just seems like I don't mean that as a demeaning way. I just mean it like you're still riding that same wave, so to speak.
It's still more to say, and it came from really seeing, where the Lord naturally took us next, and songs like Redeemed that really. That got really used in a real unique way in the lives of people, at least as far as, what we had seen over the last years. Hearing the stories that came from that, seeing a similarity in their response, it's like, man, thank God that I don't have to be who I used to be anymore. And then it was kind of like this exhale, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not the end of that, though. Not only are we redeemed from who we used to be, we're redeemed with a purpose. We're redeemed, to be somebody new. He said, I've made all things new. And so the idea that where do we go from here? Where does this redeemed life take us, and what does it look like? The idea of Beautiful Offerings is next. The beautiful part of the offering is not us. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It is what God. It is. Beautiful is not often in the same sentence with me. You know what I mean? But here's the deal. God, as we receive Him, has deposited Himself within us. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives inside of us, that which is crazy, and that's the beautiful part of the offering. The offering part is our lives. We get to give Him back what it is that He put inside of us. We just got to get out of the way. It's not about us trying to be somebody for God. It's not about us trying to do things for God. It's us letting Him have His way with us, and Him accomplishing more through us than we could have ever imagined apart from Him.
So did this sort of kind of birth itself out of the, the redeemed explosion, so to speak? Well, obviously you guys had 4 big hits and K-Love awards, all sorts of recognition from this. Were you already sort of writing as this was unfolding, going out on tour and that kind of thing, or did it just kind of bubble to the surface? I mean, how did it sort of manifest itself?
It's all of those things kind of like together, because all of those things are just life. It was just life. And so the thing is, out on the road with us, the Lord brought an awesome dude. His name's Brad Fogarty. He's our road manager, but he's really more than a road manager. He's like our teacher, and he's kind of a pastor to us. As the Lord began to move on the road in a fresh way, in a new way, which was even before Love Come to Life came out, we just sort of started shutting down the shows at the end and just praying for people. As the Lord began to move in the stories that began to come back from what He was doing at the shows, early on, man, God had Brad there to just sort of walk with us, and to call us up into a different season, man. In that, as much as God is doing in the lives of other people, it's coming from what He's just doing in our lives. That's what these songs are about, is what we're learning. It includes what God has done in the lives of others, but really, as we're in pursuit of Him, these songs are coming out of what we learn in pursuit of God. We don't get it right, we mess it up, all kinds of stuff. But man, we're in pursuit, and I think that's where He's calling us to be, is in pursuit of Him. The fact that He's not giving up on us, the fact that we are learning every day, the fact that His mercy is new every day, not just to cover up what we've screwed up, but to call us into more, which that's going to be the rest of our lives, learning about the more of God that he has made available to us in the cross. You know, our pastor says this, and he says, if you cashed the check that was written to you in the cross, you would bankrupt heaven, because literally God gave all of himself in exchange for our brokenness. That all for all is definitely not equal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so much on his side. What he's made available to us is what we're going to learn how to unpack and learn how to really walk in and receive for the rest of our life here.
Mike Weaver's on with us talking Big Daddy Weave News. They're out on tour. It's the My Story tour. They're with Jason Gray, Citizen Way, the great new album, Beautiful Offerings, and just an amazing follow-up, to what Love Come to Life did for you guys. And now that you're out on the road again, it's kind of like, man, I tell you what, bro, Jason Gray was a big enough draw for my kids. Like, Dad, can we please drive to Pensacola to see you guys? So, well, we have an outreach that day. We can't go, but is it just been more? Is it even exceed your expectations going back on tour this time, especially after the success of the last tour and album?
Well, we love Jason. We love Citizen Way. We toured together in the spring. Man, it's just like this reunion, and also a reunion with folks who are also in pursuit of the Lord. And we don't necessarily even always see stuff the same way, but it's like the heartbeat of everybody out here is the same. And I love that, that we want the Lord, that's it. And I feel like that when you're sharing from that place, it's not necessarily just the same stuff that you share every day. It's the same thing that you would share because you've rehearsed it in a show. You're sharing about what God's done today. You know what I mean? And that's really important to me. And I think that really matters and makes a difference in what happens with the people who are there at the show.
Fantastic stuff. And folks, I'm going to shift gears quickly because I know we're on the clock and we don't have much time with Mike. He's pushing this tour, man. It's good stuff. It's great to get him out here. And we were talking about New Year's, doing this big event, New Year's event with Matthew West up there hosting the show, and gathered up the church family there, watching it on the big screen, whatever. He's talking about how nervous and stressful it was at times. I have to admit, it was transparent at moments. It seemed like there was a couple unplanned moments that were kind of laid in your lap. So what's it like doing a show like that, man?
I remember saying at one point, I was like, you've heard the statement, you're killing time? I said, I feel like time is killing me right now. Because it's like there's these moments where they're just sort of like, get out there and fill in time. And, man, I never feel adequate in any of these situations. Oh, my gosh, especially with somebody who's just a champion like Matthew West. Dude, that guy is a natural-born entertainer, dude. Life is that man's stage. You know what I mean? And he is so funny. He's so good. And at 1 minute, like, they're going, we got the countdown to midnight. And they told me to, like, cut a song and all this stuff because we want to make sure and be on time. Then they handed me the clock with 7 minutes to fill. And I'm going, hey, well, we're just standing up here having a happy new year. And, where is Matthew West right now? If only my friend, the child of the one true king, could be out here with me now. But he's eating pecans backstage or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's good stuff, though, man. It was really good stuff, and you did a great job. And you got a chance to plug World Vision as well, and I wanted to give you a chance to do that here on our show. We're big supporters. We have one through Holt International as well. We've definitely all of these different organizations. Give you a chance to plug World Vision. I know you're really close to.
You know what, too? You mentioned Holt, and there's so many other amazing ministries. What I love about once you step out of this country is that ministries start working together like real well. I think in the States we need to take a lesson. Look, this is not about your team or my team. It's about God's team. And for us, man, we have just been blown away by how God uses World Vision for years. I tell people, Big Daddies don't make good world travelers. I don't like riding on airplanes. I really don't. But the thing is, we've been ruined now that we've taken trips to places like Tanzania. Man, the first trip we ever took to Ecuador, stood on a mountaintop with these little kids and their parents who had literally walked for miles in crazy elevation just to say thank you because they get to go to school. You know, not everybody gets to go to school in Ecuador.
Right.
This year, early in January, we went on a trip to Cambodia, our first visit to Cambodia. And, dude, and the Lord just wrecked us, dude. God showed me his pain in Cambodia. You know, as a culture, we want to separate ourselves from pain, you know, whether it's something that you can take in the form of a pill or whatever, or whether it's, hey, I need to turn the channel because this is uncomfortable to hear about, you know, what's hurting around the world. I hurt so badly in Cambodia. I came home just trying to forget about what I had seen. You know, human trafficking is everywhere. In Cambodia, it's as young as 3 years old, man.
Oh my gosh.
These kids being used for the most demonic purposes. And as a dad, thinking about a situation in a you know, to live in a way that you're so desperate that you literally just lose every sense of what is right and what is wrong. Cambodia was wounded. Gosh, in the 1970s, over 3 million people were just slaughtered. Every educated person that the Khmer Rouge, just a terrible communist regime, could get their hands on, killed them as a means of control,
Sure.
but just absolutely crippled Cambodia, leaving a huge generational gap. First of all, 60% of Cambodia is under the age of 25.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Places where you'd normally see like older people, you know, in a job or in a position of leadership, it's these young people, because literally they're dealing with a culture just looking for a way to survive, man. And because of that, things like human trafficking thrive there. To go there and to see how World Vision is involved on a day-by-day basis, whether it's in the form of education, just helping people realize the danger of that, to not be tricked into it, or even on some levels just to be like, look, this is not an acceptable way for you to make money, you know? Because, I mean, there's got to be something different. And to bring different ideas economically and trade-wise to just begin to help. It's an uphill battle, but it's a battle that we can fight literally one child at a time with child sponsorship. We've been so blessed to be a part of the Ministry of World Vision, and every time Big Daddy Weave is on tour or you get to see us where we have that opportunity, we're going to talk about it.
I tell you, I'd love to talk to Mike longer here. He's hitting a nerve because you know how, guys, I am about human trafficking. I included it in my book, and I could keep him for longer, but I know he's on a tight schedule. And folks, beautiful offerings. We'll link to the tour information. Make sure you catch a show near you, especially if you're listening online on YouTube and you're catching one that could be anywhere near you. We're big in some of the big metropolitan areas. He's all over. Big Daddy Weave with another amazing album. Got to check it out. And a big fan. Mike, thank you so much for fitting us in, brother.
Dude, thank you for having me, brother. God bless you guys. Thanks for having me on.